Hey, this is StarCraft 2 History, part 31. And this one, I'm just going to talk about one specific tournament, and not even that deeply about this tournament. I'm going to talk about a specific player. His name is Curious, and I've basically gone like 5 years in StarCraft 2 history without really talking about Curious. Maybe I talked about it a little bit, I can't really remember, but Curious, for those who don't know, was a very early player. Started off in 2011, specifically in the team leagues for Startail. And as a player, I think of him as a lesser version of Classic for Zerg. What I mean by that is he's a player who has shown strategically and tactically he can play every single style of Zerg. And playing it at a pretty decent level, either above average or very good, depending on his form at those specific moments. He is also one of the few players to have defeated Innovation during what I consider to be Innovation's peak in 2013, but it was an online game. It was in a qualifier, but still interesting to note. Also a very good game if you can find it. It's Curious versus Innovation in some IEM qualifier in 2013. I can't really remember which one, sadly, so maybe somebody will link it or whatever. I'm not sure. In any case, Curious was a mediocre player for a majority of time, a good player at other times, and now we come to 2015, and we come to DreamHack Valencia. And the reason I am even talking about this is because it's such an interesting moment in Curious's career. So basically, Curious has spent 4 years toiling in StarCraft 2 up to that point. What has he had to show for it? But beyond the team leagues, where he did pretty decent in GSTL, he won Code A in 2011 October. He got to top 4 in 2013 in season 1. Basically, if you want the Broodlord Infestor era, got a top 4 at ESL New York at the end of 2013. Not that impressive. And so basically, he doesn't really have a lot of personal results to show for it. And so by the time you get to 2015, Curious is basically at the end of his rope. And he basically decides, this is it. I am done with StarCraft 2. I am only going to have 2 more runs in my career, and I'm out. I'm going to the military. That's straight up what he says. And basically, for whatever reason, this gets leaked out into the general public in Korea. It doesn't get picked up by any of the foreign media or whatever. Don't know why. It's an interesting sort of story. But basically, Curious gets into the round of 32, and he plays. Basically, he's like, okay, I am in the round of 32. I will play it out. He beats SOS, shockingly. And then he beats Soxery, and then he moves on to the round of 16. He's like, okay, well, that was lucky. I am going to retire. Anyway, so whatever, I'll just keep playing a little bit until somebody knocks me out. Plays in Group C, and Group C has Beal, one of the best Zergs of that time, arguably the best Zerg of that year. CJ Hero, one of the best Protosses of that year, and Dream, the Kong of early 2015. And so Curious goes in there, he's like, surely I will be eliminated this time. Surely I have no chance. He plays it out. He beats Beal in his EVZ. He beats CJ Hero, and he moves on to the round of 8. And now, it is very confusing at this point if you are Curious. Because basically, Curious moves on, and he plays against Rogue in the round of 8. And he beats Rogue there. And then all of a sudden, he is in the semifinals of a GSL. And then he plays against Rain, loses against Rain. But Rain ends up winning the GSL. And then we come to DreamHack Valencia, where Curious just straight up wins. Straight up wins the entire thing. Beats Daishi, beats your boy Cyril, beats Marine Lord. Daishi and Marine Lord, these are less known names, so I guess I'll talk about it a little bit. They were both French Terrans. Both of them had some hype around them. Both of them were pretty good at points, but never really made it into something bigger, basically. And then he beats Patience, and he beats True, and Curious wins this entire tournament. And it is the only victory. I don't really count that Code A one. It's the only victory in it's only a big tournament victory in Curious's entire career, and it touches him a lot. And just emotionally speaking, he's like, oh my god, I've spent so many years of my life trying to get a trophy, and at the end of his rope, when he was literally out the door, he gets his two best results of his entire career, top four of GSL, DreamHack Valencia victory, and he decides, fuck it, I'm gonna keep playing. And here we are, nearly years later, and he doesn't have much to show for it. But it's just like basically he keeps continuing to play 2016 to the end of 2017 before he retires. And so basically these two tournaments, this GSL run he has, this DreamHack Valencia run, accidentally extends his career by 2 years. So I just thought it was such a interesting little moment in time that I'd do a video about it in the StarCraft 2 history thing. But it's a great sort of piece because nobody has ever talked to Curious about this, but I'd like to know, did Curious think it was worth it? Did Curious think those extra 2 years he spent playing StarCraft 2, did he regret it? Because that's always something I've always wondered is, yeah, it's great and all to chase your dreams, to play the game you want to play, to try to live out your youth as far as you can, but every once in a while, you have to think about reality. You have to think about your life. You have to think about where you're going, what you're doing. And there's this great blog by Rain, and I don't mean Protoss Rain, I mean TSL Rain, the Terran Rain, who was in a very similar position, and now he's going to college in America, and he's very confused about what he wants to do with the rest of his life because he feels like he used so much of it, and he doesn't regret it, but he used so much of it playing StarCraft 2, and Curious was out the door, but those runs, those victories, encouraged him, made him think he should keep playing for a few more years. So it's always an interesting sort of soliloquy. It's an interesting sort of story, an ode to Curious, one of these guys that he's not going to make anybody's lists. I don't think he's going to be remembered very well beyond a few select hardcore players, but he's still a player who did dedicate his life to the game. So, and a representative of many of these players that I'm not going to talk about in this series, but they do have a certain amount of respect for me, in the same kind of respect I give to everybody that truly dedicated themselves to a craft, whether they win or lose. So that's the story of Curious, and I suppose the story of many of the programmers throughout both the foreign world and in the Korean world in StarCraft 2. All right, that's it for this one. I'll see you guys later.